Look, let's clear the air right out of the gate about deep concealment. When we start discussing gear you can bury in a pocket and ignore until a threat presents itself, the younger crowd immediately grabs a polymer 9. I completely understand the logic there, but if you sit down and drink coffee with a veteran street cop or a guy who has survived actual gunfights, they will point you in a different direction. They are going to hand you a snub-nosed revolver. Now, before you hammer the keyboard and call me a dinosaur, pump the brakes. Some of the most innovative engineering in the firearms industry right now is being poured into compact wheel guns. Why? Because violence is unpredictable, and wheel guns are the ultimate insurance policy. They are tough as nails. Under a massive adrenaline dump, the manual of arms is essentially idiot-proof. You press the trigger, and it ignites the primer. Every single time. Whether you have been carrying daily since the 1990s or you just got your permit last week, mechanical reliability cannot be ignored.
Smith & Wesson J-Frame Series. When the topic of pocket carry comes up, the Smith & Wesson J-Frame is the gold standard. These guns have put in the work on the streets for decades. I look at them like a trusted framing hammer, not meant to look pretty, just meant to drive the nail. They thrive on neglect. You can drop one in a sticky pocket holster, sweat all over it during a muggy August afternoon, and it will not care. Here is the tactical reality that the semi-auto purists forget. In a violent zero-distance struggle, you can press the muzzle of a revolver aggressively into an attacker's ribs. The cylinder is still going to index. The hammer is still going to drop. If you jam a striker-fired slide into a heavy leather jacket, you push it out of battery. You get a dead trigger. That is the difference between going home and becoming a statistic. The Model 340 PD. Let's talk about the absolute bleeding edge. The Smith & Wesson Model 340 PD. This is not your grandpa's tackle box gun. This is a highly tuned defensive machine utilizing a scandium frame and a titanium cylinder. We are dealing with space-age metallurgy. You get a 2-inch barrel, a 5-shot capacity, and an overall length hovering right at 6 inches. But the defining spec is the weight. It sits at a mind-blowing 12 ounces. They call it the air weight for a very literal reason. It completely vanishes under a t-shirt. Up front, you get a bright fiber optic sight that grabs your eye instantly, paired with a squared rear notch for surprisingly accurate shot placement. Yes, the double-action trigger is heavy. That is not a bug. It is a critical safety barrier when your heart rate is maxed out and you are grabbing for the gun in a panic. It handles .357 Magnum, but you will probably train with .38 Special. Touching off a full-power Magnum in a 12-ounce frame is a violent, blinding experience. It feels like slamming your hand in a car door, but having that massive terminal performance available is a serious tactical advantage.
Ruger LCR in 32H and R Magnum. Moving down the firing line, we have to examine the Ruger LCR. Specifically, the Lipsy's exclusive model running .32 Harrington and Richardson Magnum. This caliber is waking back up in the defensive community, and I completely support it. You get excellent penetration from a short barrel without tearing up your wrist. This LCR wears Hogue Tamer grips and weighs right around 14 ounces. Ruger engineered this system to cut felt recoil by almost 40% compared to a .38 Special. I have run this gun hard, and that marketing claim is absolutely factual. The friction-reducing cam in the trigger group gives you a pull that is smooth as glass all the way to the break. Plus, it holds 6 rounds instead of the standard 5. You can train all afternoon with .32 Smith & Wesson long, which feels like shooting a loud pellet gun. The bronze frame and dehorned edges make it completely snag-free for the draw stroke. I was a doubter until I pulled the trigger myself.
Kimber K6S. Nobody saw Kimber dropping a revolutionary wheel gun, but the K6S is a masterpiece. This is a purpose-built combat revolver. It brings enough mass to the party to keep the muzzle down during rapid-fire strings. Kimber states this 2-inch barrel rig is the lightest 6-shot .357 Magnum in production. At 23 ounces, it completely takes the bite out of defensive ammunition. They shave the sides of the stainless steel cylinder so it rides flat against your body like a standard 5-shot J-frame. The hammer is shrouded, the edges are melted, and the profile is completely slick.
The factory trigger is dialed in at roughly 9 pounds, and it runs incredibly fast once you find the reset. Real dovetail sights set it apart from the competition. Whether you get the base stainless model or upgrade to the DCR with the premium wood grips, you are getting a top-tier defensive tool.
Colt King Cobra. You cannot discuss wheel guns without talking about the rampant pony. The Colt King Cobra series currently offers two incredibly stout snub-nose revolvers. These are thick, stainless steel powerhouses chambered in .357 Magnum. They tip the scales at 26 ounces unloaded. That is a lot of chunk, but it acts like a shock absorber when you drop the hammer on a Magnum round. You get 6 shots and a linear 10-pound trigger that makes follow-up shots very intuitive. A full underlug adds weight out front and shields the ejector rod from taking a beating. Colt wraps the grip frame in Hogue overmolded rubber, locking the gun firmly into your palm. You can grab the carry version with a shaved hammer or the standard model if you want a spur for single-action precision. The cylinder latch pulls to the rear, which takes a few magazines of dry fire to master, but it is highly functional. Taurus Model 605. Taurus has always owned the working-class defensive market. The current generation of the Model 605 continues that legacy perfectly. You are looking at a 5-shot, .357 Magnum that will not drain your bank account. They recently introduced a 3-inch barrel variant, which is a massive performance upgrade for sight radius and bullet velocity. Available in polished stainless or a rugged matte black, these guns are built to endure daily carry. Coming in right around $455 to $470, the value is undeniable. It takes standard J-frame speed loaders and fits the same holster profiles. It is the ultimate glove box gun or budget-friendly daily driver. Diamondback SDR. Now for something completely out of left field. The Diamondback SDR is a 9mm Luger revolver that looks like it belongs in a sci-fi movie. Running 9mm in your backup gun makes total logistical sense if your primary carry is a micro-compact auto. It holds 6 rounds, utilizing a very traditional double-action, single-action firing mechanism. The double-action pull is manageable, but the single-action breaks like glass at 3.5 pounds. You get fixed fiber optic sights out of the box, pinned into a 21-ounce polished stainless frame. But the biggest selling point? It ships with 3 TK custom moon clips. Extracting rimless cartridges from a wheel gun requires clips, and Diamondback gives you the best in the business right off the line. Lipsey's and Smith & Wesson Ultimate Carry. When Lipsey's engineers collaborated with Smith & Wesson, they created something special. They call it the Ultimate Small Frame Carry Revolver, built on the legendary Model 642 and Model 442 architecture. They chopped out the internal lock, which is a massive victory for serious gun owners. The sights are drastically upgraded with an XS tritium front dot and a wide U-notch rear for low-light engagements. They swapped the standard grips for VZG-10 high horns, giving you aggressive traction without printing through your shirt. The trigger geometry has been overhauled for a highly predictable break. At 16 ounces, you can order it in 38 Special or 32 H&R Magnum. It carries a $759 price tag, but it saves you the time and money of sending a base gun off to a custom shop. At the end of the day, the snub-nosed revolver is absolutely not obsolete. For close quarters violence and deep concealment, it is often the most intelligent tactical tool you can deploy. If you have a dedicated wheel gun that goes everywhere you go, hit the comment section and let me know your setup. I am always studying what the community is trusting their lives to. If this breakdown helped you rethink your carry rotation, do me a favor. Hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, and drop a comment below so you don't miss our next breakdown. Keep your powder dry and stay safe out there.